Hello and welcome to your notes on nutrition. This is our last bit of notes we're going to do for this unit. We're going to be discussing, just a reminder, tomorrow, lost my train of thought, I'm sorry, eating disorders. We're going to talk a little bit about the different eating disorders that we have. We're going to have a special guest who has actually experienced an eating disorder themselves, and then we're going to enter in a time of discussion about eating disorders, how they affect the body, and also what you can do to help protect yourself from getting an eating disorder, but also to help others who you might have identified as having an eating disorder. But today we got to talk about nutrition before we can do any of that, because we've got to know what it means to have the correct amount of nutrients and to not have the correct amount of nutrients before we can talk about eating disorders. So what is a nutrition imbalance? This is a lot of review from what we've already done in our energy notes, but nutrition imbalance is an excess of or inadequate intake of any nutrients. It can also be called malnutrition. Malnutrition can go both ways. It can be when you have too much of something, or it can be when you have too little of something. Malnutrition results when a person's diet consists of too much food, too little food, or food that is deficit in specific nutrients. We see nutrition imbalance or malnutrition all over. Every region of the world has experienced malnutrition at one point. We see certain groups of people who generally are more likely to be malnourished. Some of those, like if you think you're people who have limited access to foods. So sometimes people with lower incomes have issues getting the nutrients they need. Sometimes people who are geographically isolated, so think sailors here, sailors and people who are out on the sea often have malnutrition because they don't have a huge variety of food. And then some of our countries where it's harder to get things in and out of can also experience malnutrition as well, because like I said, malnutrition is when you don't have what you need in terms of nutrients. We talked about nutrient balance the other day as well and how it changes your weight. We reviewed this definitely in class and through the lecture just a little bit, but nutrition imbalance can lead to changes in individuals' weight. You can gain weight, lose weight, or either of those things. We know that when our nutrition is balanced, so if you take the M out of that word, when it is balanced, you maintain the same weight and you're getting all the nutrients you need. We're talking about imbalance here, meaning that something's off. A person needs to consume a certain amount of calories in order to maintain or keep steady his weight. The amount of calories a person needs to keep a constant weight depends on different factors, including age, physical activity, gender, and genetics. We talked about this. We know that men generally need more calories than women. We know that people like humans, like babies and infants, need a lot more calories because they're growing. We know that you all need a lot more calories because you're growing, not only in height and physical appearance, but your reproductive systems are also growing as well. You're going through puberty, so you need a lot more calories than, say, somebody like me who's done her growing and is no longer in that stage. So I don't need as many calories as you all do because I am no longer growing. And then even as we age even further up into like grandparents' age, we know that they need even less calories because their metabolism has slowed to the point where it's just not burning as much anymore. We talked about the basal metabolic rate. Yours is much higher than mine, and yours is much, much higher than somebody who is like your grandparents' age who has white hair. They don't need as many calories to make it through their day as you do because they're not growing anymore. Also, your physical activity plays a role in this. Remember, how much you burn how much you burn is going to influence how much you need to take in. If you're exercising like crazy, you need to make sure that you're eating to keep up with that so you get the energy you need. If you're not doing as much exercising or as much activity, you don't need as many calories because you're not burning them throughout the day. Just a review from yesterday. If my energy intake, so the food that I'm eating, the calories I'm getting from the food, equals my energy spent, what does that mean about my weight? Hopefully you're able to identify that means my weight's going to stay the same because the amount that I'm eating is what I'm burning, so my weight's going to stay the same. It won't go up or down. Now we have energy. We got a greater than symbol. Energy intake is greater than my energy spent. What does this mean about my weight? Hopefully you were able to identify that means I am gaining weight, because if I'm eating more than I'm spending, that extra energy is going to be stored in my body as adipose or fat tissue for later when my body doesn't have enough energy. We talked about how evolutionarily that was a good thing because we didn't always have guaranteed access to food. Now, though, most of us do have guaranteed access to food, so this isn't as big of an evolutionary adaptation as it once was, but it's something that's kind of left over and that we've battled with because we are often taking in too many calories and not spending them. What does this mean about my weight? If a person consumes more calories than needed, he or she will gain weight. Hopefully you have figured that out on your own, especially because we talked about it on Tuesday and Thursday and Friday of last week. And this one, if my energy intake is less than my energy spent, what does this mean about my weight? Hopefully you were able to identify that this means my weight is going down because I'm taking in less energy, I'm spending more energy, meaning that I need to get that energy from somewhere. I'm going to get it from the extra adipose tissue that I stored for that later date. If a person consumes less calories than needed, he or she will lose weight. Good. Nutrition imbalance or nutrient imbalance can lead to diseases. We've talked about this. We talked about how if you lose too much weight and you start to become underweight, you can actually develop heart conditions. It's bad for your heart. You can develop osteoporosis as well as perhaps even death, especially back in the mid 1950s, or mid 1900s, the 1950s. It was very common for famous people like Hollywood stars to actually pass away or die because of anorexia, one of the eating disorders we're going to talk about. So this isn't a new issue, but with how spoken our culture is, it's good to finally be able to talk about them and talk about the dangers of them so that you can know and identify and hope and avoid them in your own lives or not fall into the same traps as people in the past have. But anyways, excessive weight gain or loss can affect the normal function of organs. When organs malfunction, diseases result. Deficiency in a specific nutrient can also cause diseases. Lack of a nutrient such as vitamins or minerals can negatively affect normal body processes. You might have experienced this if you get cramps a lot. That generally means that you're lacking in potassium, right? So you eat a banana or you drink some pickle juice. If you have a vitamin C deficiency, you'll develop something called scurvy, which we'll talk about. So when we don't have the vitamins or minerals that we need, our body is going to revolt and let us know. It's going to stop functioning properly. So we can identify that nutrient deficiency before it gets too bad. Before we get to the nutrients or the vitamins and minerals, though, let's just talk about weight. So if a person, again, if we're going to gain weight, that means that the person's consumed too much food. He or she consumes more calories than needed to maintain a weight. That means that my energy intake is greater than my energy output. The excessive nutrients are stored as body fat. We talked about that. If the individual continues to consume more calories than needed, he or she will gain more body fat, which will lead to a weight gain. We talked about all of this. So hopefully you've got that in your head now, and you'll be able to tell me on the test that when I eat too much, I'm going to gain weight. Excessive weight gain can lead to obesity. Obesity is having too much body fat. Obesity puts a person at risk for type 2 diabetes, heart disease, stroke, arthritis, and some forms of cancer. Cancer. Not only that, we talked about that when you have too much weight on you, it hurts your joints, your hips and knees generally are what are going to feel it first. They're going to start hurting really bad. It's going to make it harder actually to exercise because it hurts when you do. It hurts generally when me and you exercise because our muscles get sore. But when an obese person starts to exercise, it really pounds on those joints because they've got extra weight on them, making each step or each move harder than what it would be for somebody with less weight. So it can really hurt your bones. And that's one of the reasons why obese people have a hard time getting started on getting healthy or trying to lose the weight, because it is so hard on their joints. And not only that, if you think about all the body weight exercises that we do, like squats without a bar, burpees, crunches, sit-ups, all that kind of stuff, that's all body weight. Now, my body weight is going to be less than somebody who's obese, so when they start to do those exercises, they're taking on more weight than I would as somebody who's a normal weight. So it makes it harder for them to exercise, making the disease harder to get better from or heal from. We talked about nutrient imbalance and weight loss. That means that somebody consumes too little food and you consume less calories than you need to maintain a constant body weight. And inadequate of nutrients cause the body to use fat storages as a source of energy. We said that the inadequate intake of nutrients causes the body to use fat stores as a source of energy. That is evolutionary a good thing, right? We talked about it. When we don't have enough food, we want something to rely on. We have a storage, right? We've got like a extra generator in our body. That's what our fats are. But too much fat is a bad thing. Too little fat is also a bad thing. If the person continues to consume too little food, you're going to use up all your fat storages. And then your body still needs that energy, so it's going to start breaking down more than just the fat. It's going to start breaking down your muscles too. That's one of the reasons why our eating disorders that lead to excessive weight loss is really, really bad for you, because your body starts to break itself down to give it energy, and that is nowhere near healthy. Like I said, once the body exhausts its fat storages, it begins to break down muscle. This is called muscle wasting. The body breaks down muscle and uses it as energy to fuel essential life processes. And your body's going to do what it needs to try and survive and to try to get the energy. But if you can imagine, breaking down your muscle cells to try and get energy is not the way your body was intended, or your body intends to work. It wants to break down those fats, or it wants to be fed. A body that is not fed is not a healthy body. Weight loss can be so extreme that growth is stunted, so especially during your age where you are growing and developing, if you aren't getting the nutrients and food and calories that you need, you're not going to grow right in terms of height, in terms of like stature, but also, like I said, you're not only growing in height and all that good stuff, you're growing your reproductive system. So if you're not getting the energy that you need, you're going to stunt your ability to have babies one day. So you might not be able, if you're a woman, you might not be able to carry the baby, or if you're a girl, if you're a boy, you might be sterile, you might not be able to produce a baby because of excessive weight loss, or not getting the energy and calories that you need. It can also lead to heart problems. I said it's really hard on your heart. Severe fatigue, so you're always tired. Neurological deficiencies, because like I said, your body's trying to break some things down. What if it starts breaking down brain cells? Brain damage, heart failure, and even death. So I said excessive weight loss is just as unhealthy as excessive weight gain. You need to be that nice, healthy, medium, normal weight. Nutrition imbalance and diseases, a diet that is, so we're moving more away from the weight and talking about vitamins and minerals here. If a diet that is deficient in specific nutrients, specifically a vitamin or mineral, may cause weight gain or loss, but it can also cause specific diseases. A vitamin or mineral deficiency can cause diseases because these nutrients are important to proper body functioning. Without them, the body does not function normally. Let's look at a couple of those. So this is lack of calcium, which can cause muscle spasm, weak bones, and tooth decay. Your teeth and bones are made out of calcium. If you don't consume enough calcium, you are not going to grow your bones right. Weak bones are bad because that means that they'll break easily. Your muscles can spaz because they need that to build muscles, and your teeth can also decay because they're made similarly to how bones are. Lack of vitamin D, or the vitamin that you get from sunshine, can soften the bones, or the bones can get deformities called rickets. So this is sometimes when we look very bow-legged. You can have rickets. I found some pictures of what legs look like on people. I didn't feel like they're something you needed to see, but your legs can start bowing in, bowing out because of a lack of vitamin D. Lack of iron can cause hair thinning, fatigue, pale skin, and anemia. Lots of people get this because they don't take in enough iron. You take iron supplements or eat more spinach. It makes you dizzy and tired all the time, pretty much. Lack of vitamin B12 can cause memory loss and hallucinations. You get vitamin B12 from proteins and fish. Lack of vitamin A can cause night blindness, or the inability to see at night. It could look like this blurred picture, or it could look like this big shining light. And lack of vitamin C can cause bleeding of the gums or poor wound healing, which is scurvy. This is the disease that many sailors used to get because they didn't intake enough vitamin C. All right, guys. Have a great day. Bye.